Ethan Voss sat in the small control room of the Aetheris, the orbital research station that hovered silently above the blue-green swirls of Kepler 442b. Outside the reinforced glass, distant stars blinked lazily, and the gentle hum of the station's engines filled the room. He rubbed his tired eyes, staring at the panels of blinking lights and graphs that tracked everything from life support to orbital corrections. Life aboard the station was quiet, predictable, and utterly lonely, just the way Ethan liked it. His AI assistant, Iris, chimed softly. "Ethan, your sleep cycle shows a deficit of 12 hours. Shall I adjust your schedule for recovery?" "Not yet," Ethan muttered, scrolling through the sensor logs. "I just want a quiet evening. No distractions." Iris, who had developed a knack for humor over the years, replied with a synthetic sigh. "Quiet evenings are overrated, according to Earth surveys. But I will comply." "Shall I dim the lights?" Ethan smirked. "Go ahead, Iris. Let's pretend we're not stuck in a metal tube floating in space." As the lights dimmed, Ethan leaned back in his chair and remembered the last transmission from a recent scientific conference on Terra Nova Colony. He had met a brilliant xenobiologist there, Dr. Lyra Kale. She had been sharp, witty, and completely unafraid to challenge his engineering theories. He chuckled softly at the memory. "You should live with me," he whispered to himself, half joking, half exhausted. It was the sort of impossible fantasy he allowed himself when feeling particularly lonely. Iris, ever observant, made a quiet note. But Ethan didn't notice. The night passed slowly, with only the soft whir of machinery keeping him company. When he finally drifted into a light sleep, he dreamed of stars and alien landscapes, vast cities with spires of crystal and streets that floated above shimmering oceans. It was peaceful. The next morning, the routine was broken by the loud klaxon of the docking bay. Ethan bolted upright, almost spilling his coffee. "What now?" he muttered, rushing to the observation window. Outside, a sleek cargo shuttle was maneuvering into the docking clamp. Ethan frowned. He hadn't expected any arrivals today. Iris's calm voice cut through his panic. "Unknown visitor incoming. No prior clearance detected. Docking sequence initiated." Ethan ran to the comm panel, fingers flying over the controls. "Identify yourself." The voice that answered made his heart skip a beat. It was warm, confident, and unmistakable. "Ethan Voss?" He froze. "Lyra, hope you've got space," she said, stepping into view on the comm screen, her smile unmistakable. Ethan blinked at her. She looked exactly like he remembered. Bright eyes, sharp features, and an aura of energy that could fill an entire room. "What? How? You're here?" he stammered. Lyra laughed. "You said I should live with you. I'm just taking you at your word." Ethan stared, mouth slightly open. I didn't mean that. Seriously." Lyra's grin widened. "Well, it seems serious now. I've got my equipment, my research, and, apparently, no other place to go. So, here I am." Ethan ran a hand through his hair, half exasperated, half amused. "You can't just— this is a research station, not a boarding house." "I can," she said simply, stepping onto the station's airlock. And I did. The docking clamps locked with a solid clang. The doors hissed open, and Lyra floated gracefully inside, her boots magnetically attaching to the floor. Ethan felt a strange mix of excitement and anxiety. He had imagined scenarios like this before, but never seriously. And now she was here, smiling and looking utterly at ease in his small, organized world. "I hope you like organized chaos," Ethan muttered, gesturing to the narrow hallway filled with machinery and cables. "Chaos? No, this is perfect," Lyra said. She began to inspect the station with curious eyes. "You've got a lot of space, for one person, but it might get tight for two." Ethan blinked. "Tight? Tight?" Lyra tapped a small panel, activating a holographic display. "You see, I brought a lot of research equipment. And maybe a few plants for the hydroponics bay. We'll need to shuffle things around, Ethan groaned. I thought we were just visiting. I didn't plan for this. Lyra floated closer. Plan B, Ethan. You'll adapt. Humans always do. Ethan sighed, realizing that arguing would be pointless. He had always admired humans' ability to improvise, and Lyra was a perfect example of that. He stepped aside and gestured at the narrow hallway. All right, welcome aboard. The first few hours were a whirlwind of adjustments. Lyra unpacked her equipment with surprising efficiency, and Ethan found himself both irritated and impressed. Every table, every panel, every storage compartment was suddenly full of new instruments, devices, and carefully labeled containers. You know, Ethan said cautiously, I was kind of hoping for a quiet life here. Lyra glanced at him, eyes twinkling. Quiet doesn't make discoveries, Ethan. And it certainly doesn't make life interesting. By midday, the station was alive with activity. Lyra had already activated several monitoring systems, and her excitement was infectious. Ethan found himself explaining every corner of the station, from the zero-gravity exercise pods to the artificial gravity controls. She listened with genuine curiosity, asking questions that made him think about his own work in new ways. During lunch, floating sandwiches in hand, Ethan finally relaxed. Lyra leaned back against the wall, her boots magnetically attached. So, why Kepler 442b? She asked. Ethan shrugged. Quiet, stable orbit, minimal bureaucracy, perfect for a hermit. Lyra laughed. A hermit, who apparently needs company. Ethan grinned, realizing she was right. Despite his years of solitude, he had missed interaction, the kind that challenged him and made him think, and now, it seemed, he had someone who could do just that. The afternoon passed quickly as they toured the station together, testing instruments and noting the few maintenance issues that Ethan had been putting off. Lyra's enthusiasm was contagious, and even the normally stoic Iris seemed to respond with extra energy. By evening, Ethan found himself standing in the observation deck, watching Kepler 442b slowly rotate beneath them. The planet's oceans reflected the fading light of a distant star, casting rippling patterns across the hull of the station. Lyra joined him silently, her eyes on the view. You've got a good setup here, she said softly. Comfortable? Functional? Not bad for one person, Ethan chuckled. Not bad for one person. But now I've got two. And I have a feeling you'll rearrange everything. Lyra smiled. Maybe. Or maybe we'll find a new balance. You'll see, Ethan. Humans have a way of making even the smallest places feel like home. He nodded, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. Despite the chaos she had brought, despite the intrusion into his carefully organized life, he realized that life aboard Aetheris would no longer be lonely. And maybe, just maybe, it would be a lot more interesting than he had ever imagined. As night fell over the planet, the two of them floated together in the observation deck, watching the stars, talking quietly about discoveries yet to be made, and imagining the adventures that awaited them in the vastness of space. For the first time in a long while, Ethan felt a flicker of excitement not just for his work, but for life itself. Because sometimes, the unexpected visitor isn't a problem to solve. Sometimes, they're the spark that turns a quiet existence into something extraordinary. The next morning aboard Aetheris, Ethan woke to the familiar hum of life support systems and the soft glow of artificial light. He stretched and rubbed his eyes, bracing himself for another day with Lyra. The station had already changed in subtle ways overnight. Her equipment was neatly arranged in corners he had never noticed. And a few new plants floated in the hydroponics bay. Iris, Ethan said, yawning. How's the coffee? Brewing. Strong, as you prefer, Iris replied. Lyra has already begun cataloging the hydroponics section, estimated completion in 47 minutes. Ethan sighed. He loved his quiet routine. But now, every hour seemed punctuated by her energy. Lyra, meanwhile, was already awake, floating near the central console with a tablet in hand. She glanced up and grinned. Morning, Ethan, ready to see what the artifact revealed last night? Ethan groaned. We haven't even finished breakfast. Lyra tilted her head. Breakfast is important, but discoveries wait for no one. With a shake of his head, Ethan floated toward the food dispenser. It was going to be one of those days. After breakfast, Lyra led him to the observation bay, where the alien artifact, recently brought from a nearby moon, rested in a containment module. The artifact was an irregular crystal formation, smooth but shimmering with faint pulses of light. It had baffled scientists for months, seemingly silent and unresponsive until last night. I think it reacted to our presence, Lyra explained. See these pulses? They change frequency when we get close. It's almost as if it's observing us. Ethan frowned, peering at the data on the console. Observing humans? That's unusual. Most alien tech is passive, or it reacts to energy sources, not beings. Lyra nodded. Exactly. And that makes it interesting. We might be the first species it recognizes as sentient. Ever. Ethan rubbed his temples. You do realize what you're suggesting? If it's testing us, that could be dangerous. Or it could be monumental. And I like sleeping better than monumental, Lyra laughed. A sound that seemed to fill the narrow corridors of the station. Danger is part of the job, Ethan. You knew that when you decided to work with artifacts in orbit. He frowned. I signed up for engineering, not alien mind games. You'll adapt, she said, her eyes sparkling. Humans always do. Their banter was interrupted by a sudden warning beep. Ethan glanced at the monitor and saw a minor systems glitch. The station's energy core was fluctuating unexpectedly. Iris, status report, he said sharply. Energy core fluctuations are within tolerable range. Cause appears linked to auxiliary power redistribution. Iris replied. Lyra floated closer, eyes scanning the readouts. Could be interference from the artifact. If it's reacting to us, it might be drawing energy subtly. Ethan frowned. I was hoping it would just sit quietly in its module. Not a chance, Lyra said. It's alive. In a way. Maybe not alive like us, but aware enough to be curious. Ethan shook his head. This is why humans weren't meant to live alone in space. We attract chaos. Lyra smiled. Chaos breeds creativity. You'll thank me later. The day became a battle of routines and priorities. Ethan worked to stabilize the station's systems, while Lyra tested various sensors and recorded data from the artifact. Their efforts collided repeatedly, sometimes literally. In the narrow hallways, she floated past him with instruments, knocking over a small stack of tools. Careful, Ethan exclaimed. Lyra grinned. Relax, engineer. You need to loosen up. I am relaxed, he said, adjusting a floating cable with his magnetic gloves. Just not used to all this activity. By midday, the tension was undeniable. Ethan wanted to repair the station's aging solar panels, while Lyra insisted on a preliminary scan of the artifact's energy signatures. Neither was willing to compromise, leading to several terse exchanges. Ethan, if we don't scan now, we might lose critical data. Lyra insisted. And if I don't fix the panels, the station might lose power. He shot back. Iris interjected. Both tasks are important. Suggest prioritization based on risk analysis. Ethan sighed. Risk analysis, right. Finally, Ethan relented. Fine. You do the scan. But once we're done, we start repairs immediately. Lyra smiled triumphantly. See? Humans can compromise when necessary. 7. As she floated to the containment module, Ethan watched her carefully, impressed despite himself. Her fingers moved over the holographic controls with precision, and her eyes scanned the artifact's glowing pulses as if reading a language only she could understand. Interesting, she murmured, tapping her tablet. The pulse patterns aren't random. They form sequences, like a rhythm, maybe a message, or a test. Ethan frowned. You think it's trying to communicate? Lyra nodded. Yes. And if we approach it logically, we might be able to decode at least part of it. But it's subtle. And it reacts differently to each of us. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Differently? Like, it knows me and you are separate entities? Exactly, she said. It responds to human thought patterns, not just physical presence. That's why we need to be careful. As the day progressed, they settled into an awkward rhythm. Ethan provided technical adjustments to keep the station stable, while Lyra worked tirelessly on the artifact. Slowly, a sense of mutual respect began to form. Despite their differences, they realized their skills complemented each other. In the hydroponics bay, they found themselves trapped in a minor accident. A support beam had dislodged during maintenance, locking the sliding doors. Ethan floated toward the manual override, while Lyra analyzed the panel. Looks like we're stuck, she said, calm but focused. Ethan grunted. Great. Stuck with my new roommate. Lyra laughed. Stuck? Think of it as a forced team-building exercise. With precise coordination, they managed to restore the door's functionality. Ethan's engineering know-how and Lyra's analytical mind worked together seamlessly. See, she said afterward, humans are adaptable. 2 heads are better than 1. Ethan couldn't help but grin. I guess. You're right. By evening, they had made surprising progress on the artifact. Lyra had discovered that its pulses could be influenced by sound patterns, while Ethan had recalibrated the containment module to safely handle fluctuations in energy. Their collaboration had turned a day that began in conflict into a productive partnership. Later, in the observation deck, they floated side by side, watching the planet below. You know, Ethan said, I didn't expect to be enjoying this. Your chaos, it's kind of good for the station. Lyra smirked. Good for the station, maybe. Good for you? That remains to be seen. Ethan shook his head, smiling despite himself. I think I might be learning something about adaptability. And maybe teamwork, Lyra nodded. Humans have always survived by working together. Even when things seem impossible, we find a way. For a moment, the station felt peaceful, alive with quiet potential. The alien artifact hummed softly in its module, and somewhere deep inside, Ethan felt a thrill he hadn't experienced in years. There was mystery out there, in the stars, and now he wasn't facing it alone. As night fell over Kepler 442b, Ethan realized that Lyra's presence, once an unexpected intrusion, had become a source of energy and inspiration. She challenged him, frustrated him, and pushed him to think differently. But she also reminded him why humans could thrive in the vast emptiness of space. Curiosity, creativity, and the ability to face challenges with intelligence and courage. And as he drifted off to sleep that night, he couldn't help but wonder, if this was just the beginning, what other surprises awaited them in the cosmos? Because humans, he thought, were never meant to be ordinary. Even in a tiny orbital station, among blinking panels and floating tools, they had the power to change everything. The next morning aboard Aetheris, Ethan woke to a quiet hum from the station's systems, but something felt different. The air seemed charged, almost electric. Iris's voice, calm as ever, interrupted his thoughts. Ethan, Lyra, there is an incoming signal from the artifact. It is faint, but repeating. Ethan froze mid-stretch. Signal? From the artifact? Lyra, already at the console, smiled widely. I knew it. I suspected it might be able to communicate. This is incredible. Ethan floated toward her, rubbing his eyes. Incredible? Or dangerous? Remember what happened yesterday when we got close to it? That thing reacted to our presence like it was alive. Lyra waved a hand. Exactly. Alive, or at least sentient in some way. And it's reaching out. Think about it, Ethan. Humans might be the first species it recognizes as intelligent enough to respond. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, torn between excitement and worry. I don't know if I like being the guinea pig for an alien. Whatever it is, don't worry, Lyra said, eyes sparkling with curiosity. We'll approach this carefully. We just need to decode the signal. And if it's a message, we might learn something that no one else in the galaxy has. Ethan nodded slowly. Fine, but cautiously. For the next several hours, Lyra worked tirelessly at the console. She analyzed the pulses, mapping their frequencies and patterns. Ethan assisted where he could, adjusting power outputs and recalibrating sensors to prevent overloads. The signal was unlike anything they had seen. It wasn't just a series of numbers or simple patterns, it was rhythmic, almost musical, with subtle variations that suggested intentionality. Every time they thought they had a pattern, it shifted slightly, as if the artifact was testing their understanding. See this? Lyra pointed at the monitor. The pulses change when we apply different frequencies from the station. It's like it's responding to us. Ethan frowned. Responding, or manipulating? How do we know it's not trying to trick us? Lyra shrugged. We don't. But the only way to find out is to keep interacting. Humans have a way of solving problems that machines can't. Intuition. Creativity. Sometimes, just thinking differently is enough. Ethan sighed. I guess that's why we survive in space while our AI can't. Exactly, Lyra said, smiling. Humans, Ethan. The galaxy might be full of technology. But humans, we're unpredictable. And sometimes, that's an advantage. Hours turned into an entire day as they experimented with sound patterns, light pulses, and energy modulations. Slowly, tiny changes appeared in the artifact's responses. Small, almost imperceptible shifts, but shifts nonetheless. I think it understands that we're working together, Lyra said. It's responding to human collaboration. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Collaboration? Or maybe it just likes your singing in the lab, Lyra laughed, floating closer. Oh. Don't underestimate the power of music, engineer. Humans have been communicating with rhythm and tone for thousands of years. Maybe it's the same here. Just on a higher level. The breakthrough came late in the station's second day of observation. Ethan noticed a sequence in the pulses that seemed familiar, a repeating code, almost mathematical. Lyra. Look at this, he said, pointing at the console. It's a sequence. A pattern. I think it's trying to tell us something. Lyra's eyes widened. Yes. That's exactly what I was hoping to see. Let's try to respond in kind. They devised a careful experiment. Ethan controlled the station's energy emitters to mimic the pulse sequence, while Lyra adjusted the frequencies on the containment module. The pulses from the artifact shifted immediately, almost as if it were acknowledging them. It's working, Lyra whispered. It's responding. To us. Ethan's heart raced. Do you realize what this means? We're communicating with an alien intelligence. And it's interacting with humans specifically. Lyra nodded. Which means it recognizes our species. It sees us as significant, or at least capable of understanding. The excitement was palpable. Yet, as the day wore on, Ethan noticed a subtle strain on the station's power systems. The artifact was drawing energy in pulses that didn't match the station's calculations. Iris report, Ethan said, concerned. Energy fluctuations are increasing, core output at 78% efficiency. The artifact's response is affecting auxiliary systems. Iris reported. Ethan exchanged a worried glance with Lyra. We can't let this destabilize the station. Lyra floated to the manual controls and began adjusting the containment protocols. We just need to regulate it carefully. Humans are the bridge here, Ethan. Our creativity is helping it understand us. But we also need to protect the station. Ethan nodded, focusing on the energy core, rerouting power where necessary. Okay, let's balance this. Cautiously. They worked side by side, adjusting energy flows and fine-tuning the artifact's containment field. For a moment, the station felt like a living organism, with Ethan and Lyra as its heartbeat. carefully synchronizing every movement. By evening, the signals had shifted again, forming a recognizable structure. Lyra's excitement was uncontainable. "Ethan, I think it's a map," she said, eyes wide. "Coordinates, maybe? Or a star chart?" Ethan leaned over, studying the display. "If it's a map, then someone, somewhere, left this for us. Or is guiding us. And it's communicating in a way only humans can understand." Lyra floated closer. "That's the thing about humans. We can see patterns where machines see chaos. We improvise, we adapt, and sometimes, we succeed where logic fails." Ethan felt a swell of pride. Humanity, he realized, wasn't just surviving in space. They were standing on the brink of discovery that no AI or alien technology could replicate. Their ingenuity, intuition, and adaptability had brought them here. The artifact's pulses grew stronger, almost urgent. A new message was forming, more complex than before. Ethan and Lyra exchanged a glance. "This is bigger than anything we've imagined," Ethan said quietly. "We're not just observing aliens. We're interacting with intelligence that might be older than humanity itself." Lyra nodded. "And we're doing it with our minds, not weapons, not brute force, just human ingenuity." Suddenly, the station shuddered. Warning lights blinked red. Ethan's stomach sank. "What now?" he shouted over the alarm. Iris's voice was steady but tense. "The artifact's energy output has spiked. Auxiliary systems are nearing overload. Immediate action required." Ethan grabbed Lyra's arm. "We need to shut it down carefully." "Done." "No," Lyra protested. "Not shut down. We'll lose the signal. We can regulate it." Ethan hesitated. "Regulate? How?" Lyra pointed to the manual controls she had set up. "We synchronize our adjustments. You manage the power. I adjust the containment field. Together." Ethan took a deep breath. "Okay." Together, for what felt like hours, they worked in perfect harmony. Ethan rerouted power flows, diverting energy from non-essential systems. Lyra tuned the containment field, countering the artifact's surges. Slowly, the red warning lights turned amber, then green. Iris chimed softly. System stabilized. Energy fluctuations under control. Artifact response continuing. Ethan exhaled, floating back. That was close. Lyra smiled, floating beside him. But we did it. Humans. Working together. Improvising. Adapting. Ethan nodded, a grin spreading across his face. Humans, huh? I guess. We really are capable of incredible things. Lyra laughed. Don't get sentimental, engineer. The signals are just beginning. And I have a feeling the next ones will be even more challenging. Action. Ethan stared at the artifact, now softly glowing in its containment module. It pulsed gently, as if acknowledging their success. Almost like a silent nod, he realized, with a mix of awe and pride, that this was only the beginning. Humanity had always survived against the odds on Earth, in the harshest colonies, and now, in the endless expanse of space. They were inventive, adaptable, and fearless when facing the unknown. And in that small orbital station, orbiting a distant planet, Ethan knew one thing with certainty. Humans were meant for the stars. The alien artifact had sent its first message. And humanity, with all its curiosity and courage, was ready to answer. The calm after the artifact's first signal was deceptive. For a few hours, Ethan and Lyra floated in the observation deck, watching Kepler 442b rotate beneath them. The alien pulses were steady now, almost gentle, but Iris's soft warning tone broke the silence. Ethan, Lyra, new energy fluctuations detected. Artifact output increasing beyond safe parameters. Ethan jumped to the console. Already? I thought we stabilized it. Lyra's eyes narrowed. It's not a malfunction. It's testing us. Or maybe it's curious about how we react under stress. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. Testing us? Or attacking us? Not attacking, Lyra said. But we can't take chances. Humans have survived the impossible by thinking faster than danger itself. That's what we're going to do now. The artifact's pulses grew irregular. Lights on the containment module flashed in a rhythm that Ethan recognized from their earlier experiments, a sequence of energy spikes synchronized with the station's auxiliary systems. It's learning from us, Lyra said, voice tense but excited. Every adjustment we make, it responds. And now, it's testing us in ways we didn't anticipate. Ethan swallowed hard. Testing or not, we can't let it destabilize the station. The first wave of automated defense came unexpectedly. Small drones, silent until now, emerged from the artifact's containment field. They hovered, scanning the station, assessing Ethan and Lyra's every move. Red warning lights flashed. Ethan gritted his teeth. Iris, defensive protocols, he shouted. Iris responded immediately. Drone activity confirmed. Non-lethal measures initialized. Suggest human intervention for optimal results. Lyra floated closer to Ethan. This isn't a battle we can fight with brute force. We need to outthink them. Outmaneuver them. That's humanity's edge. Ethan nodded. Then let's think. The drones were small but fast, moving with precise coordination. They weren't hostile yet, but their presence was a clear warning. Any mistake could trigger a system shutdown, or worse. Ethan studied the drone patterns. They respond to energy fluctuations, like the artifact's pulses. If we can manipulate that, maybe we can control their behavior. Lyra's eyes lit up. Exactly. Humans can improvise in ways machines can't predict. Let's do it. Together, they devised a plan. Ethan would adjust the station's energy output in subtle surges, tricking the drones into following a false signal. Lyra would manipulate the containment field to create temporary zones where the drones couldn't enter. It was a delicate dance, and for a few tense minutes, they moved like synchronized partners, adjusting energy flows, guiding drones, and recalibrating the artifact's containment. Every mistake could be catastrophic. Ethan's heart raced as he diverted power from non-essential systems. Come on. Come on. Lyra's fingers flew over the controls. Almost there. Just a little more. The drones, confused by the shifting energy signals, began to move in predictable loops. Ethan grinned. It's working, but then the artifact pulsed sharply, sending a wave of energy through the station. Lights flickered. A door jammed. One drone spun toward the hydroponics bay, aiming for Lyra's equipment. Watch out, Ethan shouted, grabbing a control arm. He fired a magnetic pulse, redirecting the drone just in time. Lyra adjusted the containment field, creating a temporary shield around her instruments. We can do this, Ethan. Humans always find a way. The battle continued, a mix of strategy, improvisation, and sheer human ingenuity. The drones followed their manipulated signals, avoiding the containment zones Lyra created. Slowly, they were herded back into the artifact's module, where Ethan and Lyra locked the field, neutralizing the threat. Ethan floated back, panting. That was intense, Lyra grinned, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Intense. Yes. But we did it. Humans, Ethan. Improvisation. Creativity. Quick thinking. That's what saved us. Ethan shook his head, half amused, half impressed. I can't believe it. Just a few days ago, I was hoping for a quiet life. And now, this. Lyra floated over to the observation deck, staring at the stars. Quiet lives aren't meant for humans, Ethan. We survive because we adapt, because we think differently than machines, because we take risks that others won't. Ethan joined her, feeling the familiar thrill of accomplishment. And yet, somehow, we pulled it off. Lyra smiled. Because we're humans, and that's what we do. With the immediate threat neutralized, they returned to the artifact, cautiously monitoring its pulses. The energy surges had stopped, replaced by a steady rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. "I think it understands us now," Lyra said softly. "Or at least, it respects our capabilities. Humans are unpredictable. That might be exactly what it wants." Ethan nodded, still catching his breath. "So it's not just a machine. It's intelligent. And it's testing human creativity." Lyra floated closer, studying the glowing artifact. "Yes, and that's the most exciting part. This isn't just about survival. It's about proving that humans can solve problems others can't, that we can outthink even advanced technology." Ethan smiled. "You know, there's something satisfying about that. Outthinking an alien intelligence. Humans really are remarkable." Lyra laughed. "Remarkable. Indeed. And it's only the beginning. Imagine what else we can learn from it." As night fell over Kepler 442b, Ethan and Lyra reflected on their day. They had faced danger, adapted under pressure, and discovered just how capable humans could be when pushed to their limits. "This artifact. It's a challenge," Ethan said. "But it's also an opportunity. Humans can thrive where others fail. That's what makes us extraordinary." Lyra nodded. "And we'll keep proving it. Together, we can face anything the galaxy throws at us. Creativity, intuition, courage, that's our advantage." Ethan looked at her, realizing how much their partnership had grown. What began as a chaotic cohabitation had transformed into a collaboration capable of facing even alien intelligence. "And to think," he said with a grin, "I was worried about sharing this station." Lyra laughed. "Sharing? No. Ethan. We're combining. Human ingenuity multiplied. That's how we survive in space." Ethan shook his head, smiling at the truth of her words. The station hummed around them, a testament to human invention and adaptability. And the artifact pulsed softly, a quiet reminder that humanity was being tested but also celebrated. In that small orbital station, among blinking lights and floating instruments, Ethan understood something profound. Humans were not just survivors. They were explorers, problem solvers, and creators. They could face intelligence far older and more advanced than themselves, and still find a way to succeed. And as he floated beside Lyra, looking out at the stars, Ethan felt a surge of pride. Humanity, he realized, was unstoppable not because of weapons or raw power, but because of imagination, adaptability, and courage. The artifact's challenge had been met. But Ethan knew, deep down, this was only the beginning. There were greater mysteries ahead, more tests, and even more opportunities to show what humans could achieve. Lyra turned to him, her eyes shining with excitement. "Ready for the next step?" Ethan smiled, feeling the thrill of adventure surge through him. Always. Humans never back down. Together, they prepared for the next phase, knowing that whatever came from the artifact or the stars beyond it would be met with ingenuity, determination, and the unstoppable force of humanity. Because humans, in all their flawed, unpredictable glory, had one thing no machine or alien could match: the courage to face the unknown, and the intelligence to conquer it. The Aetheris drifted in the calm silence of orbit around Kepler 442b, its metal hull glowing softly under the distant sun. Ethan and Lyra floated through the station's corridors, their movements fluid, accustomed to zero gravity. The events of the past days had tested their patience, creativity, and courage. But the biggest challenge was yet to come. The artifact pulsed gently in its containment module, almost invitingly. Its energy had stabilized since their last encounter with the drones, but Lyra knew that its intelligence was growing, learning from them as much as they were learning from it. "Ethan," she said, eyes bright, "I've analyzed the latest signal sequences. This isn't just a test. It's a message. A guide." Ethan floated closer, squinting at the holographic display of the pulses. "A guide? To what?" Lyra shook her head. I don't know yet, but it's definitely a map, star coordinates, with timing sequences. Whoever or whatever created this, it wants humans to follow it, to explore. Ethan swallowed. The thought of traveling to unknown stars, following the instructions of an alien intelligence, was both thrilling and terrifying. So, it's giving us directions? Into the unknown? Lyra smiled. Exactly. And humans are perfect for the task. We improvise, adapt, and find solutions that no machine can predict. That's why it chose us, why it recognizes our species. Ethan nodded slowly, pride and excitement mingling with anxiety. We're really going to do this? Lyra floated beside him. We have no choice. The universe is calling, Ethan. And humans never shy away from a challenge. Over the next several hours, they worked tirelessly, decoding the map embedded in the artifact's pulses. Each star coordinate, each timing pattern, required precise calculations and creative thinking. Ethan adjusted the station's navigational systems, while Lyra translated the energy patterns into readable data. It's beautiful, Lyra whispered. Every signal, every pulse. It's like the universe itself is speaking to us. Ethan smiled, feeling the familiar thrill of discovery. And we're the first humans to understand it. No AI, no other species, just us. As they worked, the artifact pulsed brighter than ever before. Iris's voice broke the silence. Warning. Artifact energy reaching peak levels. Containment measures at maximum capacity. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. Peak levels? What does that mean? Lyra floated to the control panel, her fingers moving over the holographic interface. It means it's ready to reveal the next step. We need to be precise, Ethan. One wrong move could overload the station. Ethan nodded, hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. Then let's do it. A and re. Together, they synchronized their actions. Ethan carefully adjusted the power flow, ensuring the station's systems could handle the surge. Lyra fine-tuned the containment field, directing the artifact's energy safely through the stabilizers. The module glowed, pulses forming intricate patterns that danced like constellations in the display. And then, with a sudden brilliance, the artifact's message became clear. The holographic display transformed into a three-dimensional star map, detailing a route through uncharted systems, along with markers indicating planets suitable for exploration, resources, and potentially intelligent life. Ethan stared in awe. It's a guide to the galaxy. It wants humans to explore. Lyra's eyes shone with excitement. Yes, and it chose us. It sees humanity as capable, intelligent, and adaptable. That's incredible. Ethan floated closer, running a hand over the console. Think about it. Humans, leading the way into new systems, discovering worlds no one else has seen. This is what our species was made for. Lyra laughed softly. Bold, daring, creative. That's humans. We survive where others fail. And now we're being invited to prove it on a galactic scale. For a moment, both floated in silence, contemplating the enormity of the opportunity. The universe stretched infinitely before them, filled with mysteries and challenges, and they were the first humans to receive the map. Ethan finally broke the silence. We need to prepare. Supplies, equipment, and mental readiness. This isn't just a trip to the next colony. This is first contact with the unknown. Lyra nodded. And we'll be ready. Humans have always thrived on the edge of the unknown. This is no different. Over the next several days, they prepared the Aetheris for the journey. Ethan recalibrated engines, reinforced the hull, and expanded life support systems to handle extended travel. Lyra organized the research modules, ensuring their instruments could analyze alien environments. Every task was a test of ingenuity and resourcefulness, and both thrived in the challenge. As they worked, they discovered something even more remarkable. The artifact's pulses were subtly guiding them, teaching them how to improve the station, how to conserve energy, and how to anticipate unknown variables. It was not just a map, it was a mentor of sorts, challenging them to think in ways that only humans could. One evening, as they floated side by side in the observation deck, Ethan gazed at the stars. "You know, I never imagined that my quiet life here would lead to this." Lyra smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Life is unpredictable, Ethan. And humans, we thrive on unpredictability. We adapt, we create, and we conquer challenges no one else can." Ethan nodded. "I guess that's why it chose us. Not AI, not any other species. Us. Humans." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "Exactly. And now it's time to show the universe what we can do." The next morning, they activated the artifact's final sequence. The pulses aligned perfectly with the station's systems, projecting a star path into the main observation deck. It was breathtaking, a luminous trail stretching across the galaxy, with points marking systems, planets, and resources. "This is it," Ethan said softly. "The path to a new frontier. Humanity leading the way." Lyra floated closer, her face glowing in the light of the projection. "And we're just the beginning. Imagine what our species will do with this knowledge. Colonies, exploration, discovery. Humans thriving among the stars." Ethan smiled. "It's overwhelming, but exhilarating. We're not just surviving anymore. We're shaping the future." As they prepared to depart, the artifact pulsed one last time, sending a wave of energy through the station. It was a silent acknowledgement, a gesture of trust in humanity's ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. "Ready?" Lyra asked, floating beside him. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also the thrill of adventure. Always. Humans never back down. The Aetheris lifted from orbit, engines glowing, as the station followed the star map projected by the artifact. They passed planets, asteroid fields, and distant suns. Each step a testament to human courage and creativity. Ethan glanced at Lyra. "You know, we've been tested, challenged, even threatened. But we're still here. Humans, we really can thrive anywhere," Lyra smiled. "And that's the essence of HFY, isn't it? Humans against the odds. Clever, resilient, and unstoppable." Ethan laughed softly. "I guess so. Who knew my quiet orbital life would turn into this?" "Giz." Lyra's grin widened. "Sometimes, the universe has a sense of humor. Or maybe, it just knows who can rise to the challenge. And humans, we always rise." As the Aetheris followed the artifact's star map, Ethan and Lyra felt the exhilaration of discovery, the thrill of the unknown, and the undeniable truth. Humanity, with all its flaws, creativity, and courage, was ready to explore, adapt, and conquer challenges that lay beyond the stars. And in that moment, both understood the ultimate lesson of the artifact. The universe was vast, full of mysteries, and humans were not just passengers. They were explorers, creators, and pioneers, capable of achieving greatness wherever they went. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and humanity's journey had only just begun. Ethan looked at Lyra, feeling a deep sense of connection. "So, what's next?" Lyra laughed softly. "Next, humanity shows the galaxy who we are, and I think we're going to like what we find." Together, they charted a course into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them, guided by curiosity, courage, and the unstoppable force of human ingenuity. Because humans were never meant to settle for ordinary. They were meant to explore, to create, and to thrive. And the stars were theirs,